Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is lovely. Well, welcome, everyone. This is Charlie Zelli, and I am honored to welcome the Corridor Management Committee and a lot of public interest in this committee meeting. This is the first time we've had a virtual meeting for this corridor committee, and we have a lot of interest and a lot of people tuning in. So bear with us as we deal with the technology. I had a little panic because I had trouble logging in, but we have great support. I can attest to that right now because they took care of that issue. So I really want to welcome committee members. I know it's been a full year since this committee has met, and I was not there, but I am fairly new to the Met Council as chair, but I'm not new to the Blue Line and the Blue Line issues, having been Commissioner of Transportation during the Dayton administration, and it's so nice to see some of my partners and acquaintances here. I just want to mention a few of these technical issues. If you have any problems, and I can attest to Sophia doing such a great job, please put into the chat box if you have any technical problems. And then I would actually recommend, and I've done this, close out all other video applications you might have open. I find that WebEx works a lot better if over the months we've all collected Skype, Ring Central, Teams, all that seems to clutter computers. If the public would like any comments, submit any comments, I really encourage you, and you could do this for, for the next week. Send comments to Sophia.Ginis, Ginis, at metrotransit.org, and we're going to post those comments on the website. This meeting is being recorded by the media and by Met Council. And if you want to review any handouts, the presentations are all going to be posted on the website, Blue Line extension, bluelineext.org, and there's a whole page there that describes the project. So without further ado, I think we should introduce each other. I'm going to call out by jurisdiction, and hopefully those that are committee members or alternates who are representing committee members, please feel free to just say your name and your position, and we can get started. I'll start.
Just real quickly, this is Dan. Before you do that, can somebody, Sophia or Katie, could you somehow help our colleague, Mr. Commissioner Michael Opat, get into the meeting?
We're on it, Dan.
Thank you.
Dan judged that, but I had the same problem too, so I have no judgment at all.
Sorry for the interruption, Chair. We'll move on from here.
Thank you, Dan. All right, we're just in the introductions, and again, if there are committee members from Met Council, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Lilligren. I'm the Met Council member for District 7. Sorry, Reva. District 7 is South Central St. Paul, downtown to the river, North Loop, North Minneapolis, and Robbinsdale. Thank you.
And Reva. I know Reva Chambliss is here.
Yes, I am. I'm here. I'm sorry. I had some background noise. I represent the Metropolitan Council in District 2.
All right. Anyone else?
Voice for Metro Transit.
Great. Wes. Anyone else from Met Council? Moving on to Hennepin County.
Hey everyone, Commissioner Irene Fernando here, Hennepin County District 2. Very grateful that everybody's joining.
And Mr. Chair, I'm Jen Callison. I'm the Regional Railroad Chair, and I'm an alternate to the meeting.
Welcome, Jan, and we'll know when Mike can log in. Moving on to Brooklyn Park.
Yes, Jeff Lundy, Mayor of Brooklyn Park, proud to be where Blue Line starts.
Yay. Crystal?
Hi, I'm Mayor Jim Adams of Crystal.
Welcome. Robbinsdale.
George Selman, Robbinsdale City Council member and alternate as Mayor Murphy will be in attendance.
Welcome. Golden Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Shep Harris, Golden Valley Mayor, and I also have a council member joining me as well.
Hi, I'm Councilmember Jillian Rosenquist from Golden Valley, and I'm the alternate for the committee. I've also been involved with this project since I was a resident appointed in the station planning process and on the first iteration of the CAC.
Welcome. Minneapolis.
Hi, Jeremiah Ellison here, council member for Ward 5. And I believe I'm the alternate if the mayor is not on the call. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome either way. Anyone else from Minneapolis?
Yes, this is Abdi Sawa. I am an alternate for Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey.
Lovely, Abdi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Philippe Cunningham, council member for the 4th Ward. I am not an official member of the committee, but just wanted to make sure folks knew that the other Northside council member was also present. Thank you.
Glad you could be part of us today. Minneapolis Park Board?
Hey, I'm Chris Meyer, representing the Park Board.
Welcome, Chris. MnDOT?
Yeah, this is Mike Barnes. I'm the Metro District Engineer for MnDOT.
Hi, Mike. Anyone else from MnDOT? Metro Transit? Well, Wes already introduced himself, so you have multiple roles. Blue Line Coalition?
Hello, good evening. My name is Ricardo Perez. I'm with the Alliance and Blue Line Coalition, and today I'm an alternate for Nicole Bueller with Harrison Neighborhood Association. Good to be here.
Welcome. Now, our Community Advisory Committee representative.
Sorry to interrupt. We got one more person here from the Blue Line Coalition.
Sorry.
That's okay. Denise Butler here. I'm with ACER, which is African Career Education and Resource Inc. Blue Line Coalition member here. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Community Advisory Committee.
I'm not George Selman from Robbinsdale here. I'm not chair of that committee anymore, but I am still a member of it, and sounds like the only member here.
Well, then you got heavy lifting on two hats to wear. The Business Advisory Committee.
Good afternoon. This is Matthew Wrench. I'm co-advisor of that committee.
Great, welcome. And the Minnesota Management and Budget Office, MMB. My friend and colleague, Myron Franz, has announced his retirement, and he doesn't show up. This is terrible. I'll tell him that. Well, we'll fill him in. Did I miss anybody?
Chair, this is Sam, and if we could check in and see if we have any representatives from the City of Brooklyn Center.
Okay, they've got me in.
Brooklyn Center?
Because I can't. I tried.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to?
I believe we have one more introduction.
Okay.
Are you able to unmute?
Try it now.
Try it now.
Yes, this is Candace Othel from the Business Advisory Committee representing Crystal.
Oh, thank you, Candace. And yes, you're coming in. Appreciate your patience.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, just one more. This is Sean Kramer. I'm an executive budget officer at Minnesota Management and Budget, and attending in Myron Franz's stead today. So,
Sean, you saved your boss in the nick of time. I was giving Commissioner a hard time, but I take it all back. Thank you for attending.
thank you.
All right, anybody else I missed? Well, we just want to do one item of business that we will vote on, and that is the meeting minutes that were sent out on Friday, August 7th. Are there any edits that you want our staff to capture or corrections? Sam O'Connell can call the roll, but first, is there a motion to accept the minutes? I understand this was from a year ago. But it's an interesting documentation of history and time for us to meet on a new day. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Lundy moves.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Mayor Adams, second.
Thank you. And if there's no other edits or discussions, Sam, can you call the roll by member organization and we can approve the minutes?
Yes, Chair. I will start with our council members. Councilmember Chambliss.
Aye.
Councilmember Lilligren.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to Hennepin County. We have Commissioner Opat with us. Commissioner Callison, you could serve as Commissioner Opat's alternate and approve the minutes if you would like.
So I vote yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Fernando?
Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Kramer for Minneapolis Park and Rec Board? Excuse me, Meyer.
Aye, for Meyer.
Thank you, Councilmember Meyer. Commissioner Meyer. Mayor Lundy? Mayor Lundy?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Mayor Adams?
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Ellison? Councilmember Ellison for Mayor Fry?
So real quick, I did hear Abdisala possibly correct me as far as being the alternate, and it's been a while since I logged on. So Abdi, did I hear that correctly?
Yes, council member. I believe I was the alternate, but we can double check on that.
Okay, cool. Then I'm gonna let the mayor's surrogate take it over from here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ella, please.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Selman for Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Harris?
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have our Brooklyn Center representative, Mayor Elliott, on? Okay, moving forward. Blue Line Coalition member Perez, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Butler?
Aye.
Wes Koistra for Metro Transit?
Aye.
All right. MnDOT, Mike Barnes?
Aye.
Okay. Either Chris Berney or Catherine Fleming as co-chairs of the Community Advisory Committee? Okay, and Candace Othout as the chair of the Business Advisory Committee.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Minutes approved.
Thank you, Sam. Those minutes are approved, and we're going to post them on the project website if you'd like to refer to them. I'm just going to set the stage here a little bit. I really appreciate everybody coming to this corridor meeting it has been too long for us to get together, and I truly think we're at an inflection point. I need not kind of describe the value of this project. The corridor has a high concentration of various incomes, low incomes, communities of color. So much has been written about equity corridors. This is truly one where, from a regional point of view, is an imperative, both for connecting people to opportunities, but to serve the local communities. And I really applaud everyone who has advanced this project over not just years, but really decades. No question, I share the frustration I think we all have that we did not have a willing partner. BNSF was not willing to move this project forward. And we could go on and on about the efforts we used to try to engage BNSF. They were engaged, and really about 4 years ago, they really became very reticent, and to a point of saying pretty clearly and then ultimately emphatically, no, we cannot use their private property. And I have to say, as one who has made several trips as Commissioner of Transportation to Fort Worth to try to make the case to advance the conversation, and having been sitting in on conversations with not one but two different governors. Well, part of a conversation with one governor, Governor Dayton, but I know that Governor Walz has had conversations with the highest leaders, including the CEO. My most recent conversation was in February with the executives from BNSF here in St. Paul, and we tried to offer whatever we could, everything from goodwill to coercion to looking at their system-wide needs. We looked at various ways through the Freight Rail Council in the state of Minnesota to try to find opportunities to benefit the railroad, up to and including their right-of-way, but to no avail. So we can keep talking about that, but we're at a time now where we really want to advance the project, and I have said frequently, staring at something that's not moving isn't going to make it move. So we're really actually thrilled that let's make progress. Let's make progress in ways that there's nothing there to stop us. And I think with the will and the past work, the past community engagement, what we have learned, and we continue to learn, and now we can build on those learnings to understand where's the opportunities ahead. And I truly believe we just may have an opportunity to make an even better project. There's nothing more expensive or disruptive than doing nothing. And I think now we can commit to action, and that's partly what this meeting's all about. So I'm wondering if our vice chair, Commissioner Opat, was able to get connected, and if he is, I would love to call on him to say a few words. Mike, are you here?
I am. Took a little while. Thanks to Kate for helping me get in.
Well, you and I had that together, but go ahead.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Well, I think this is a regrettable position to be in. I would agree with most of what the chair has said. I don't feel like we have another alternative at this point with the railroad being so intractable. I don't think we've exhausted what can be done with them, but we've exhausted our ability at the county board level anyway to move them. So there's that really leaves us with the only option being to try to look at a different alignment or look at a slightly different project. Hopefully, maybe at some point there could be a persuasiveness by the part of folks higher up the food chain that might get BN back to the table, but right now there doesn't appear to be, so that leaves us where we're at. This meeting has been long overdue. I'm glad people are on it. I'm interested to hear what some of the local folks have to say, but before you do, I want to make sure it's not lost, having been part of this project since it started, I guess. I want to make sure I give a shout out to all the local officials, especially in the cities through which this will run, for all the work you've done, all the seminars you've had, all the open houses, all the communications to the Blue Line Coalition, all of that. You put so much out there, and that makes this even more of a heartbreaking sort of meeting to have. But thanks for being here, and I look forward to what you have to say, and you deserve the time to say it.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. And honestly, it should go without saying. Well, it should go with saying. I'm going to say it. Your leadership, your commitment, your passion has really driven this project, and I think it's up to us to keep that momentum going. So thank you for everything you've done, and we should have an opportunity for others to speak, any kind of reflection or thoughts that you have. This is not it is not by any means required, but I really invite committee member representatives to say something. To make it kind of easier, we're going to try this virtually. If you just put your name on the chat box, if you just click on the chat box and say, I want to speak, just put your name in there. I'll call on you because I can't see everybody at one time, and hand waving is always challenging. So if anybody would like to say a few words, please feel free to put it in the chat box, and between myself and Sam, we'll find you.
Some folks are chatting me. Both Mayor Harris and Mayor Lundy are wanting to speak.
Well, that is good you're watching because I can't see that. So, Mayor Harris, going alphabetically, do you want to have the floor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just ask a question first. And I do want to say thank you to Mr. Chair for meeting with our group of cities and community groups earlier this year, and thank you for putting together this meeting. We do appreciate it. Appreciate the personal touch that you've added to these conversations, and I want to thank the county for their efforts, their positive efforts to try to get BN to negotiate. Mr. Chair, my question is, you mentioned maybe my ears went up when I heard coercion, trying to coerce the BNSF back to the negotiating table. I'm wondering what kind of efforts were made to twist the arm of Burlington Northern Santa Fe, because you know this, and I'll just say it publicly. There's the belief amongst the cities, when we all worked together more than 5 years ago to stop a connector between Burlington Northern and Canadian Pacific, because they wanted to send a bunch of Bakken oil trains through our cities and block public access and raise a number of environmental concerns. We stopped that from happening, and so suddenly the goodwill from BN suddenly stopped. So I'm just wondering what kind of arm twisting measures were used by the Met Council and by the governor, not just phone calls, but have there been legislative efforts? Have there been regulatory efforts in coordination with our friends, our members of Congress as well?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll tell you what, I will, let's get everybody have a chance to speak, and I will come back and address your question. And maybe if there's other comments, I'll put it in the context. So just the interest of time. Mayor Lundy?
Sorry, trying to cut down my video because performance issues. I think first I want to thank everybody for having the meeting, and I intend to the point, and I intend to do that as well. The cities have not felt that there has been best efforts. I was part of the group that went to the FTA. I sat there and lobbied proudly for all other lines, orange, gold, Southwest, knowing that those had to get done and that we could get to the blue line, and that we have patiently and been a team player. All of the cities, I think, on this line have been in the county. And so it's with disappointment that I don't feel like we are a team, because I know we're going to talk later about community engagement. That should have happened 2 months ago, frankly. We had an opportunity 2 months ago to engage the cities in this process. We were purposely excluded, and I say purposely because we asked to be included, and we were excluded. And so, Brooklyn Park, we pride ourselves on community engagement, and one of those things is we don't make decisions before engagement. That's not engagement, and so I don't believe that we've done best efforts. I do have a long list of things that have been collected from legislators, from former Met Council chairs, to staff, to federal officials, a list of things that I have never heard if we've done. I noticed quite quickly that we brought the full weight of the Transportation Board to help complete Southwest, and that's when they got there. And when I lobbied at the FTA, there was very clear, the FTA said the last people that will say yes are the railroads, and that you will have to pull them along. And I've shared with others, and I shared with Chair Zelle, so this is nothing new, that, a long time ago when I was young, and a couple U.S. senators in North Dakota, and if you look at a map of North Dakota, every city in North Dakota is on a railroad. And that is the way it's been for over a century, and it'll continue. The U.S. senator at that time, I was interning, told me something that's always stuck with me, and it kind of came back, which is, you're not really talking with the railroads unless you're threatening them, because they will do nothing unless it's in their best interest. There is no community in a railroad. They are a quasi-independent, quasi-public-private corporation that has been given vast powers. And so they don't do anything unless they're trying to avoid something or they want something. And so that's why I think that question is really important. I have a very long list, and it's collected things that we can and can't do, things that we should be talking to them, carrots and sticks. And I think, you've talked about the purpose of the line, why it's important. I'll just say why it's important to Brooklyn Park is if we, this year, 2020, of all years, we finally have some conversations about equity. That this is the year we decided that we are going to delay a project, that affordable transportation is not going to solve equity issues, but solving equity issues cannot be done without affordable transportation. And buses that provide people a 90-minute ride to get from Robbinsdale to North Hennepin Community College, or that to Brooklyn Park, if you want to go to the western side of the city, you actually have to leave the city and then bus back in. And so we have concerns greatly about this. Frankly, we should have been having this discussion 2 months ago instead of having it now, because that's when we could have worked together to do things. I've talked to legislators up and down the line, and they were very surprised. They keep asking the same question: why now, 2 months out from an election, which we all know could be very changing as far as the change of the guard, that we decided that now was the time that we make a change. And I think lastly, and I think we're getting more conversation on this, is the one common theme among all the people. I think I talked to everybody, legislators, my council members, past members, state office holders, federal office holders, federal staff, is everybody is blaming everybody. If blame was going to get this rail done, it would be built and we'd all be riding it right now, because simply people have been saying this group's not doing their job, that's not doing their job. And so I think that when blame seems to be the currency, that's usually just a lack of leadership. And the cities want to work with anybody to move this project forward. I think all of us mayors have spent over a decade each, have been engaged. I know there are other people who have spent a long time as well. And that's why, and I still think it's complete and utter BS that we were not included 2 months ago when this started. That was a choice made by the Met Council and the Hennepin County Board to not include us. And so if I seem like I'm getting angry, I represent the anger of Brooklyn Park, who spent thousands of hours engaged, believed in this project, fought for this project, and talked about this project. That we are now doing this. I do not believe that rerouting on the southern end is going to be a slam dunk, because there was a reason the route went that way, and we're going to rediscover it all. There was a reason the FTA requires minimum speeds, and then through certain corridors, the speed dropped. So we're going to do what we can to move forward. I would prefer that we tackle both things. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can fight with the railroad, and we can also explore other options. If I was a business owner, I wouldn't abandon things. I would continue to push. I would hedge my bets. I think business knows what that is nowadays. I think we owe it to the people that the shovel-ready project that we have at hand deserves a fight. I have not seen that fight. I don't feel like we've had that fight. Frankly, the federal office holders and the staffers of the federal have been getting mixed messages, and that has not helped our federal efforts. They do not know where this governor and this Met Council stands on this when it comes down to those private conversations. So I will end there before I say something even more emotional, but this is, we will not fix equity issues in the state of Minnesota, which are some of the worst in the country, without access to affordable transportation. It doesn't solve anything, but it sure the hell is going to be a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your honesty. And yeah, absolutely, it's good to hear your comment. Sam, do you have anybody else who'd like to say a few words?
Yes, Chair, we do have Council Member Atlas Ingebrigtsen that would like to share some words with us as well. And I believe she's calling in from her phone, so it might take one moment for her to connect with us.
All right.
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, Linnea.
I apologize. I was just a few minutes late getting on the call. I lost my keys in Afton State Park, and luckily found them. So I'm on the road, and I just hands-free, but wanted to just share, and then I'm going to listen. I just wanted to acknowledge what I've heard so far from the cities, and just share that I've been asking, and I really believe that we're stronger together than we are apart. I have not been a part of a decision-making body that has been working on a light rail project, but I definitely was an engagement staff person of the city of Minneapolis when the Southwest LRT project alignment was getting negotiated. And my experience says if we are not having everyone at the table, that at the front end, which can be more work, you have problems with quality of outcomes on the back end. And it is much more worth it to have everybody at the table. In our work in the nonprofit, philanthropic sector, we have a mantra of nothing about us without us. And so I just want to share that I'm in complete support of having the key stakeholders at the table when we're dealing with the challenges, the successes, and the opportunities of this project and other projects to come. And that's something that I've been sharing, but I just want to continue to voice support for. The other thing I just want to share is that I really do and really think it's valuable, regardless of how the project goes, to create a single document that captures all the investments that the communities have made so that we can make the most of our decision making and really honor the work of the communities, including the nonprofits and community organizations, as well as all the investments that the local communities have made along this alignment. And I really hope we can get that document and that will be a tool for us to not just continue to think about this project, but also to think about other opportunities, as these communities have been working a really long time and investing a lot of resources. There might be other ways that we can use those investments and leverage or bring value add in other projects or opportunities. And I really think that would be an important tool to have to go into the next stage of this project. With that, I'll just continue to listen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Sam, anyone else?
We do have Mayor Harris that would like to speak, but I think Sophia, if she can help us, we do have some state senators and representatives with us today, and if we could recognize them in the meeting.
Sure. Can Sophia connect? Can you help us connect to the state senators and representatives?
Yes, we have quite a few folks in the chat, and I don't have them all because I'm scrolling, but we do have Representative Raymond Den and Chris Eaton, and I think a few others. I'll get them for you, Chair.
Sure.
Okay. As Sophia gets us that list, we do have another comment from Mayor Harris.
Mayor Harris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to acknowledge the state legislators. When I asked that question earlier about arm twisting, and I want to echo every comment that Mayor Lundy stated. And it's not just Brooklyn Park and Golden Valley. I know that Mayor Hennepin from New Hope couldn't join us today, and neither, apparently nobody from Brooklyn Center, but the city's all up and down the line and adjacent or neighboring communities who would positively be impacted by this line. I believe that all options have not been exhausted when it comes to Burlington Northern. So I just want to echo everything that Mayor Lundy said. And one example of an option to use is what our state legislators just did yesterday. And I don't know if she's on the line or not, but Senator Ann Rest led the charge with Senator Eaton, and I know Senator Latz, and I believe Senator Dibble. There may be one more that I'm forgetting, Senator Hoffman, who all introduced legislation that basically sends a message to our friends in the railroads that as everyone is saying, this is a team. We are a community. We need to operate, including the rail lines. And so that legislation, which would include additional property for taxable purposes, is an example. And that's what we'd like to see. And when I say we, this isn't just Golden Valley. This is the communities up and down the line. And at first, Mr. Chair, you know this. We believe all options need to be exhausted with BN, and we don't think that that's happened. But we're willing to help build some consensus here. And in fact, I don't know if it's in order right now or not, but I just at least want to put it out on the table that I would offer a motion to direct the Met Council and the governor and the county to coordinate a multi-level government effort to exhaust all options with BNSF first, while looking at other alternatives. So we're open to the concept of looking at other options, but we would like to see all options exhausted. And when I mean other options, meaning other alignments. But we are in agreement on light rail, and we believe that those options still need to be exhausted with BNSF, and it needs to be a coordinated effort, whether it's legislatively, whether it's regulatory, or both. And frankly, as Mayor Lundy said, we need to be in the room where the decision is happening, and we need to be at the table in that room. I believe that this is a four-legged stool. You got the federal level, the state level, the regional level, and the local level. And the local level, what many people forget, but everybody I would think on this call knows, is that local level's power is in the municipal consent process and the local preferred alternative process. While compared to the Southwest line, we are the no drama line. We had no problems getting past or getting to municipal consent, but still, it took a lot of effort. There are many people on this call that took a lot of bullets at the local level for the Met Council, for the governor, past governor and present governor, and for the county. And so we believe, whether it's the cities, whether it's the community organizations, or frankly the state legislators who weren't involved or knowledgeable of this joint statement that came out several weeks ago, we weren't in the room. We weren't part of the decision, and that's got to change going forward. That's the only way that the cooperation, the teamwork, and frankly the trust is going to go forward. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to apply the appropriate pressure necessary to overcome BNSF. So, Mr. Chair, at the right time, right place, right time in this meeting, I would offer it as a motion. Basically, it's twofold. One is to exhaust all options with BNSF first, while looking at other alignment options. but also to include all these stakeholders in these decisions going forward. Not just asking for our engagement, not just involving us in the conversation, but actually having us be a part of this decision making, like Mayor Lundy said when this most recent round started several months ago.
Okay, I got that. And if I can capture what your motion was, it was twofold. One, it is to exhaust all options to advance a change in direction for BNSF to allow for this alignment, for the past alignment to go forward. And two, that the stakeholders and mayors and other communities are engaged in the process, whatever it may be, going forward. But that the all hands, efforts to work with BNSF does not preclude advancing additional investigation of a new alignment. Is that captured?
Yes, yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I think that would capture it. I think that what I would just say is we still believe that the priority should be placed on BNSF.
Okay. In interest of time, I'm going to make a few comments, and I know we have so many senators and representatives that we probably don't have time to get to each person who's not a committee member, but I want to be echoing a lot of what we've heard in terms of appreciation of a lot of local representatives at the state legislature who have been living this process along with everybody else. And I would just say, before we address the motion, and to answer your question, Mayor, that the frustration that everybody is feeling, I can, as representative, chair of this committee, I can fully acknowledge, and I think that's widely shared. And there is certainly a belief that full representation need to be part of the process. I personally can only speak to what I know, and I have had a history of the engagement with BNSF. So I come at this situation slightly differently because I actually was part of the coercer, engager, negotiator. There's a few kind of funny narratives. One is that Southwest got an extra push that Blue Line did not. Those were equal pushes. The alignment with Southwest was very minimal, and it was pretty clear that they were saying no to both. Yes, they did say yes to Southwest, but it wasn't out of a federal threat, but it was long and protracted negotiations where they were very consistently saying no mention of any additional corridors, even to mention additional corridors. If you ask for what were the conversations, there were many, and yes, there weren't that many people in the room when there's a CEO talking to a governor, but there was a full-hearted, full-throated effort. Governor Dayton had threats of property taxes. We had attorneys tell us that's unconstitutional. We've had additional taxes and restrictions. Many bills have been entered that were trying to rein in the FitRail operations, not just BNSF. And having been to their headquarters, I look at their general scheduled maps. They don't have state lines because under the 4R Act, railroads do have some preemption, some authority that states and local jurisdictions do not have control. I'm sorry to say this, but it is not a lack of commitment, effort from U.S. senators, from U.S. representatives, from governors, from other business community efforts. Now, could you always do more? Who knows? Absolutely. I don't want to be, from my perspective, say that every stone was unturned. If the BNSF would have a change of heart and see it have a different business strategy, there's not a lot of dust collecting on these plans. We could move forward. But doing nothing, there's nothing more expensive. Not advancing this critical project would be a shame for the communities that we need to serve. So that's my personal perspective. And I only speak for those former Met Council chairs those former people I've stayed very close to during the process and then after can realize that after 4 years, not about an individual, not about a crystal connection, not about any particular animosity toward any particular governor, there was a business rationale that the NSF has consistently said that co-location with transit does not benefit. In fact, it impedes their business strategy. And if they say it so many times over 4 years, after offering, I even advanced the idea of building a freight rail bridge across to get to valuable land in Becker. We've talked about Hennepin County buying the entire line. We've talked about various ways that would impede their business. You know, at a certain point, I have to say I was convinced. But does that mean that if they change their mind? Absolutely. But there's nothing worse, I believe, for this project to just wait for something that, with all likelihood at this point, despite tremendous pressure, is not likely to happen. So this is just my point of view, but that's my experience. So we have a motion on the table, and I want to allow somebody else to offer a second if you so wish.
George from Robbinsdale, second.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
It's Commissioner Irene Fernando. So this wasn't on the agenda. I'm not sure if I see language of which we're voting on. And so I don't know how you will be proceeding to that portion. But I will say from what I heard two portions of this motion. One about exhausting all options, and I think returning to the BNSF line, which I want to express that is not the position that I hold. The second resolving clause, perhaps, or the second component of the motion being about having a much more upfront and more public process, and that I am in favor of. After reviewing the charter that we have, this body has not practiced the charter as written. It says that we should be meeting monthly. It says a lot of things, and so I certainly expect that at the next CMC meeting, which should be sooner versus later, that we review the charter and work to amend that in a way that we can follow that. And so I don't know how you will be conducting this, Mr. Chair, but I wanted to speak to the components that I heard, of course, without any language in front of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would those that made the motion be willing to split this into two parts? Because I actually agree with the Commissioner that number one is don't lose efforts to advance conversations, whatever that is required, to BNSF without losing the momentum and the process of exploring an alternative. So it's, but then the other is involve the corridor committee and the stakeholders every step of the way. And I think that this meeting is partly intended, if you look at the agenda and our conversations, have been to advance that much closer, regular, monthly, engagement. And I think those are two different thoughts. Mayor Harris, would you be open to having two different motions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to see if there's other comments before I do that. I'd like to see if there's other members of the committee that have a feeling one way or the other.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, George from Robbinsdale.
Yes.
I would like us to vote on it as it was moved. I believe we have the votes to pass it that way.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yes, this is Abdi Salah. I just want to say a few things on behalf of Mayor Fry as it pertains to this. I just want to echo what Alad has said, what many folks on the committee have said, that this project has been in the works for years, and we support exhausting the options to reach an agreement with BNSF. We can continue those efforts while also starting a conversation with the public about the possibility that a new alignment will be necessary. Recognizing that we're all part of cities that will make us successfully together. It's been a long time working on this, and I understand that many folks are frustrated. But on behalf of Mayor Fry, I just want to say that he does support the pursuit of all viable options, but is also open to other alignments. As far as the two motions are concerned, I think splitting the motion is something that I would support.
Yes, so I just want to come in here. This is Denise Butler, coming from community, and I feel like community has been involved in the process. There's a lot of efforts have been made in the community that have been in station area plans, a lot of engagement, the Blue Line Coalition, our various organizations, engagement that would expand the whole corridor. That's why, in 2013, we came together as a coalition, and that a coalition that works across the corridor wide to ensure that our communities will be involved in this process. I think the years, the work, and all the engagement efforts that we've made, we do not want that to be wasted in trying to look at realignment. We are for this line. We propose this line being built. Community supports this line as it is, the alignment as it is. We fought for this alignment, and this is the alignment that we want. And so I feel like both motions go hand in hand, and we would like to support keeping the motion as it is right now on the table.
Okay, I'm hearing a growing interest in putting the motion together because they go hand in hand. Mayor,
Can I say something?
Please.
This is Reva Chambliss, and I know that we respect all of the engagement that has happened throughout the years, all the investments that have been made by community members and cities, and the effort that has gone on to get BNSF to cooperate with us. I have a big concern that we're going to lose momentum in getting this done for the purposes that it's intended, to have a thriving corridor and to begin to close the gap on the equity opportunities that we should have realized. I understand that people wanted to be engaged throughout the process, and this was a very difficult process as far as making the effort to get to where we are at today. My concern is that we need to make sure that we move forward and making sure that these investments in our communities and in our cities are realized, and that there may be efforts to slow that process down. How long is it going to slow the process down? How long do we need to wait for BNSF to cooperate? Is it another 5 years, another 10 years while we wait? Or do we push forward to make sure that our corridors receive the benefits from their investments? I think we need to be careful, and I think we should look at splitting this amendment out.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Candace Oka, Business Advisory. I have been very concerned about a number of things that I see as flaws in the process of this development along this particular alignment. There are dangers that seem very, very real when we were talking about perhaps even sharing this alignment with oil trains, but they still exist. We still could have a major derailment with loss of life because the trains are co-located so close together. I realize that, and I keep bringing up issues from why are we building enclosures in a climate that has blizzards at station enclosures that don't give full protection to somebody waiting for a train. I grew up in lived for many years in San Diego and saw the development of the line that they have created out there. there was much more thought to the comfort and security of the people using the line that I've ever seen used here. And the climate is totally different. There are flaws with going through wetlands that we've spent years fighting to protect those wetlands, and now we're saying, oh, it's okay, we're just going to put a drain through it. Theodore Worth Park, do we really want to damage or cut into a very precious area that has been around for generations? We're losing history and we're losing value in an industrial situation to an industrial situation that I don't think is really fair to the public at large. I'll quit there. I could go on, but I won't.
Thank you. While we're taking some comments, Mayor Harris, would you be willing to write your motion into the chat box so that we could actually have something written and understand what it is? As I understand it, to keep the pressure on BNSF's alignment, but to advance the work on this alternatives and to engage the corridor. Is that it? If you could write it, that might be helpful while we're getting comments so we know.
I will, Mr. Chair. Thank you. It might take me a couple minutes here. And I just wanted to also remind you that since the Worth Park was brought up, there is a representative on the line from the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board.
Yep, and I was about to ask to speak next.
So,
Chair Zelli.
Chep, you're going to be busy writing, and we'll hear some others' comments. And I do want to have a little bit of a moment to talk about some next steps and some framework project, because that's important, I think, for us to kind of hear a little bit about. Christopher from the Park Board.
Thank you, yeah. So the Park Board does support, we would welcome access, to the Worth Park. But at the same time, I don't want the project to be delayed indefinitely. And if we're really not making progress with BNSF, I feel like we should be moving on to other options. So I would like to split the question because I do believe that we need to have active public engagement on this, but I don't want to be stalled forever with BNSF.
And just as a moment of clarity, we're kind of committing to this engagement and the regular meetings of the corridor committee, and that is part of the next step presentation. So I just want to alert everybody that as we are on our current trajectory, as I think is very much aligned with how both the county and the council staff and the project team is viewing their work. So maybe if Mayor, while you're writing that out, I might call on Dan Solar just to kind of talk about some of the draft principles, because I think really get to the heart of some of these concerns. And then we'll have a chance just to quickly talk about next steps. Dan?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks everybody for the comments today. I know many of you know me from my former role as the former project director for the Blue Line Extension Project. I know most of you know I now work at Hennepin County on advancing and coordinating light rail projects that are in Hennepin County and other transit projects. And of course, this is not an easy discussion for many of you, and of course, it's not an easy discussion for me either. Since the early part of, since in fact the beginning of 2015, I've spent a great deal of time and effort with many of you that are on this call, developing a project that we did call, I wouldn't say completely no drama on this, the no drama line, but certainly the drama was minimized, and we had a great working relationship among all the partners on this particular project. And so we had advanced it, as everyone here knows, through the NEPA process and into engineering, and had gotten a long way down completion of engineering on the project. And we are now stuck here. And so one of the things we wanted to propose is some principles that would be viewed, commented on, and potentially and eventually adopted by management committee, some principles that would be used for looking at what alignments might be possible, and to look at how we might go about public engagement. I mean, and really to start this, the first thing I really want to mention is, I want to make it very clear that when we talk about these principles, we're not talking about doing a new project, okay? The project that we have been trying to advance for the last 5-10 years is a project to build LRT, extended blue line, the extended blue line LRT from downtown Minneapolis north Brooklyn Park. That's the project we've been attempting to advance. And so when we work on this, we're looking at a new alignment, a new movement in the project that is building the same project but not utilizing BNSF right away. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there are some principles that we would want to stick to as far as moving this forward. You know that this has been a federal project, and so we've been moving down the path of and filling all of the project requirements to allow for the eventual use of federal funding on this piece. And as part of that, we've been in the Capital Investment Grants New Starts program, which is a program run by the Federal Transit Administration, the same program that was utilized to implement Hiawatha and the Southwest LRT and the Central Corridor LRT, which requires various things be met in order to allow for federal funding to be part of the project. So as we look at something, we want to be able to show the FDA that we're really advancing the same project, but not using railroad right away. So we want the purpose and need to be the same, meaning the mode remains LRT, meaning that we begin at Target Field Station, that we extend the blue line, that we serve the general communities and areas that will generate ridership, travel time, and maximize our project rating through this project. We right now sit in the queue in the federal program with a project rating of medium high, which is absolutely necessary in order to keep this project high. And so we would want an alignment that does those things. We would want to maintain the existing alignment as much as possible. So we know that when we leave the BNSF right away, we come across Brooklyn Park and then head up West Broadway to the Target North Campus. That would want to continue. That part of the project would need to stay the same. We want to continue to serve North Hennepin Community College. We want to continue to make that segment, as Mayor Lundy says, the beginning of the BLRT line in northern Brooklyn Park. To the extent that we can, keep the station locations in as close to a location as they are, that wants to be part of what we do. And we want to serve the existing corridor cities and major destinations. It's part of what got us to this point. But we all know that becomes difficult when you look at various ideas. We can't just simply build the alignment right next to the BNSF right away. In many cases, that's completely full of residential property. And
Dan, when you sit back, we can't hear you. When you sat back, we didn't. It was hard to hear.
Sit up close to the computer for the microphone, Dan. Yeah, thanks.
Which part, George? Which part? did you start to lose me?
Don't say the beginning, just the very end. Sorry.
Okay. So what we said was that we want to try to develop alignments that serve, that serve the existing corridor cities of Minneapolis, Golden Valley, Brooklyn Park, Bristol, and Robbinsdale. And that becomes, in some cases, that's possible. In some cases, that's not possible. But it's a principle that we want to follow. We know that we're going to need to mitigate impacts under any alternative, but we also want to complement and avoid redundancy with planned and existing transit ways. So while Penn was certainly a route that was studied in detail during the alternatives analysis, we've now implemented the C line along Penn, Metro Transit is working on the D line along Emerson and Fremont. Those are likely not good locations. And then, of course, we need to minimize residential impacts along here as well. I guess just in summary, and we certainly would look for any other feedback from the CMC on what kind of principles should be used in looking at other potential routes. The main thing we're trying to do here is serve the same purpose and need with the same mode while avoiding Burlington Northern right away as a place to run this. And so to that end, that keeps us moving forward with the same LRT project. We also go ahead, Chair.
No, I thought you were done.
No, well, I also want to mention that we also developed some draft engagement principles that are also here for discussion as well. We know that this builds on what we've done before. When we talk about meaningful engaged stakeholders, we want to honor and build on previous community engagement. I mean, I've probably been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings on this project over the last 5 years. We need to build on what that has done. We need to tailor engagement practices to meet the needs of the community. We need to ensure that everyone is included. We're in a weird time right now with COVID. What does community engagement look like? How can we do it so that we make sure that all voices are heard, that we include different and all races and incomes and abilities and all of the groups? Because this is a big project. It continues to be a big project. It continues to be something that we want to do to serve everyone along this alignment. So these are pieces we've put forth. We'd like Chair to offer these to the CMC as a draft and to take feedback, comments, and thoughts over time. Come back together at a future meeting. We can adapt some principles that help us look at what we really want to do as we move this forward.
I really appreciate it, Dan. I didn't mean to cut you off, but in the interest of time, we want to do two things. One is, Sam, I don't know if you can just spend 5 minutes talking about next steps, because I think we need to kind of describe what's ahead of us. And then we want to have a time to vote on a motion that the mayor, I haven't seen that in writing, but we want to give that a chance. So I beg your indulgence to hopefully not go over by much, but maybe just a little.
Chair.
Sam? Yes.
Chair, I know that Minneapolis Councilmember Ellison had some comments, and I just wanted to make sure that we gave him an opportunity.
Right, absolutely. That's what I wanted to get this kind of next steps kind of organized, and then we're going to get back to the motion so we vote. So I want to make sure that Councilmember Ellison has a chance to talk right before we vote, if that's okay.
That works for me.
Sam?
Yes, thank you, Chair Zilli and committee members. In your packet and as well as on the screen, we do want to talk with you today and get your input and feedback on our next steps and really kind of focus in on 2020 as we look to inform and involve stakeholders some of our conversation today and receive direction on that. Chair Zilli, acknowledging, I think we all do, obviously, we're in an interesting point with so much going on, not only with COVID-19, but as we discuss a lot of issues in our community regarding equity. And also just want to recognize that there are elections that are occurring, and a lot of our organizations that we would be engaging with would be supporting some of that, or that does take up some of their capacity. as well as some of the work related to census. So we just want to have that conversation a little bit with you today on what sort of the pace we should go with, and are there some ideas on the table as we look to 2020 that we could be thinking about in terms of our next steps. So if we can, we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So what we did at just a very high level to share with you today is some of the activities that staff has been engaged in, both on Hennepin County as well as the Met Council. So in August, we participated in a Hennepin County Community Works Technical Implementation Committee meeting that's mostly populated by our city staff to talk a little bit about our next steps after the news release on Monday was released prior to that. So just kind of engaged our staff members a little bit through that. Today, obviously, we're holding our first CMC meeting in a long time and have some thoughts on how we continue to move forward. What we do see ourselves doing in August is definitely having similar conversations, both at our respective organizations at the council and at the Hennepin County Board as well. And as we move into September, and we know as folks are moving into fall and being taken up a little bit with school issues, we also wanted to make sure we provide an opportunity that Hennepin County staff as well as Met Council staff are coming out to your city council meetings or your agency meetings to provide a project update and to do a lot of what we're hearing today, as well as to receive thoughts and engage in some discussion as well. In September, we would like to also hold a CAC and BAC, so that is a Community Advisory Committee as well as our Business Advisory Committee. We have found that those occurring as a joint meeting has been the most fruitful for our discussions. So that is something that we would anticipate to hold in September. In October, moving into October, we would anticipate holding our next CMC meeting in early October. We'll back some of these discussions and have a pathway forward in terms of how we are closing out the end of this year. In addition to that, and Dan, you might want to talk a little bit about this, Hennepin County is engaging on conversations about community engagement and looking to go out to the communities and provide an opportunity through contracts for organizations that have been a part of our processes for a very long time to support and lead some of that engagement, and really with the thought of for the community, by the community. So that's an opportunity for us to engage on that in October. And then also have some stakeholder conversations in October and really get the feel of where our communities are and being able to have those discussions. So I'm going to hold on that and just see if Dan would like to talk a little bit about the community engagement contracts.
Thanks, Sam. Just really quickly, you are correct. We think it's important, both as a Met Council and county team, that we don't only sit in our own bubbles and try to figure out how to do community engagement, but that we get help from community engagement staffing and experts to help us develop a community engagement plan that will help us understand what the best next steps are in the process of determining a different place for this route, if that's the way we decide to go. And so we are looking to bring on some contacts in Hennepin County that will bring on some community engagement professionals that'll help us from the neighborhood, as part of the neighborhoods around the entire corridor, to help guide us in how to pull a plan together. We would do that, and we would bring that kind of information back to the CMC and work with.
Great, thank you, Dan. And really some of that feedback from those community organizations and being out into the community will help us develop that community engagement plan that would really take root and make sure it's robust and that we are really centering ourselves in the work of communities as we go forward. And then as we look towards the end of 2020, We would hold another corridor management committee either in December or January. Again, just we would acknowledge the pace of the committee and the work and the interest to set that date. I do want to just point out one housekeeping item that we would have to engage in towards the end of this year, early next, is that we would go through a reappointment process with our corridor management committee and our community and business advisory committees as well. And we know that does take a little bit of time, and we work with our city partners and organization partners to make that happen. And as we heard today, one of the agenda items that we can take up as well is looking at the committee charters themselves and looking to refresh. So what we're interested in, we are cognizant of time, is still receiving your feedback. If we have a couple questions or thoughts, we can, Chair, if it's okay to take one or two, but we would look today to just present this and allow the council, the committee members to digest and think more about it, and we can circle back with their thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm going to suggest that, just the interest of time, because we're running out, and I know people have busy afternoons and probably other Zoom meetings to go to, but just know that a robust engagement plan is in effect. You can see the calendar. This will all be on the website. It kind of an immediate step. We're kind of asking Hennepin County and Metro Council staff to start engaging by making new presentations, work with the Business Advisory Committee, the Community Advisory Committee, and getting meetings set up. We are committing to additional council corridor management meetings. So in a way, I think that the second part of Mayor Harris's motion is already underway, and I think there's a general sentiment that we can't start soon enough. Maybe we should have started. So that's kind of the point we're on at this moment. I want to leave enough time to actually vote on the motion. I know that Councilmember Ellison has been very patient. Had wanted to make some comments. So, Councilmember, if you are here, it'll be great to do that now.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I think a part of my concern has already been addressed. Folks like myself hopped on the call to really get a sense of where things are, and I felt like to make and vote on a motion before we had gotten through the entirety of what was supposed to be presented, I was worried about that. So thank you for providing that space, Mr. Chair. And secondly, I just wanted to say I feel like I've heard either some insinuations or maybe even some outright statements that folks feel like not everything's been done to exhaust these options. But I'm listening to folks on this call, folks like Commissioner Opad, who have really poured their careers into this project. And I think that if folks who have really poured their careers into this project are saying we've reached the end of the line with BNSF, I think that we would be wise to believe them. And I won't be voting on the motion because Abdi Salah here is going to be the mayor surrogate today. But I just wanted to give my opinion that I feel like this could present a real distraction and potentially stretch resources away from this forward momentum that we're trying to head into. And I know that there's been a lot of talk about the alignment. I know that those decisions were made before I was in office, but I really think that alignment mitigation is in order, not simply because BNSF is proven to be immovable, but I also believe that that in pretty quick order, times have changed and the representation in North Minneapolis has changed, and the attitudes about how this line served the North Side have really changed. And I feel like myself and Councilmember Cunningham would really lean into this alignment mitigation process to make sure that residents are served by the line. And so I just wanted to have that named. If time allowed it, I would invite my colleague, Councilmember Cunningham, to make a statement or two. But I just wanted to have that said aloud. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much for that comment. Councilmember Cunningham, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate it. So as a North Sider and a council member that represents over 32,000 people, a big concern that I have as an elected official is ensuring transit connectivity and access to help make sure that we are intentionally easing the decades of systemic disinvestment and separation of North Minneapolis. We have an opportunity here to be able to actually invest equitably. I represent what's north of Lowry, and we have a very low car density in our community, and also very low equitable investment in terms of building up our community. And so transit connectivity is a huge opportunity. So I'm relatively new leadership in Ward 4. I am aware that my predecessor, had kind of laid the groundwork of where we are today. But I'm here to ask that you all please remain open to alternative routes that serve our community in North Minneapolis as we navigate these new realities, and that we also include Ward 4 residents. Folks talk a lot about equity. I've heard equity continuously throughout this call. And so we're talking about 32,000 people in North Minneapolis that I represent that have not been involved in the conversation because this has not been designated to serve our community. So as we move forward, I just ask for openness and inclusivity for our community. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the space.
Thank you for your comments. And I know we also have Mayor Elliott from Brookville Center would have some comments.
Yeah, Chair, thank you for the chance to make some brief comments. Well, I want to begin by echoing the comments by Councilmember Stephen and Cunningham. Equity needs to be central to this work, and I think the work around engagement is important. It's laudable. However, it's important that the communities that we're seeking to engage with are also involved in the entire process, are at the table in terms of design and implementation, and at the point of decision making, importantly, because oftentimes ideas bubble up, but don't always get to the point of when we're actually making these design decisions. So it is incredibly important that we, as Councilmember Cunningham said, keep an open mind, looking at alternatives. If we're truly going to engage with the community, then with the idea process, maybe different notions. So, and my last comment is to really think about pacing, because sometimes when projects feel rushed and people are felt left out, it can be really traumatizing when you're talking about changes that can really affect the environment that people live in. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you.
For the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor, for your comments. While we have a little bit of time, I want to make sure we have a vote on the motion. I'm going to suggest that rather than think about splitting the real kind of motion here is about whether we're actively working at all levels of government to continue to press BNSF while we're also advancing the corridor alignment in an alternative. I think the idea of all stakeholders being part of the decision-making process is already in our bylaws. It's already in our intention. And it's actually in our plan. And so I'm not suggesting we re-amend the motion. I just think that substance of the motion doesn't need to be split because part of it is kind of in place. The real thing that's just different, I think, is this question of exhausting the options. And we've heard a lot about maybe this is a distraction. Maybe we lose momentum. I'm not so sure. I got to put my head around that. But I don't think even without the motion or with the motion, the BNSF or those that can continue to advance pressure on BNSF, should they change their mind, that would not stop. That we would have to come together, wherever we are in the years ahead and collectively make a decision. But those plans are still there. So I don't think that's anything that we do is going to preclude that. That's my opinion. So I want to know that it's 2:58. We're probably going to go over, but if there's any short comments, otherwise I think I will call for a vote on the motion as Mayor Harris has written in the chat to all of us.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fernando.
Commissioner.
I know that you're going to the motion that came from the floor. Since other content was covered in the interim, I just want to be able to speak in favor of what staff has proposed in terms of the plan forward. I am grateful that many different people have poured a lot of energy over the many decades, and in terms of what was proposed around considering other options so that we can serve residents as promptly as possible. This is not a conversation around whether or not we need this. We know we need this line, and I am acknowledging that you're moving to a separate motion. Since content was covered in the interim, just want to speak in favor of what staff had presented. Thank you.
Mayor Harris, do you have any last comments or thoughts about your motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to go forward and keep it intact, and because I think even if you say, and I appreciate your sounds like I'm not putting words in your mouth. It sounds like you're open to the motion, even if it's baked into our bylaws. I'm not sure if then we've been following our bylaws. So I think the decision-making piece is just as important as the exhausting all options. And Mr. Chair, I want to say thank you to you and the staff for putting together this presentation. If this motion does pass, just as there's some detail here about a plan forward, I think there needs to be, this is a plan forward looking at other options. If this motion passes, I think it'd be important to see a plan similar to this on how to exhaust options with BNSF. That's something we can discuss afterwards.
Before we call for a vote, I just want to clarify. I'm actually going to vote no on this motion. The reason I'm voting no is because I fear we will take limited resources away from the efforts that we really need to do right now. That doesn't mean that there can't be continual conversations to BNSF. That doesn't mean that should the unlikely circumstance, in my opinion, they change their mind, we can't do it. But I'm fearful that this motion sends the wrong message for the kind of engagement, the kind of commitment we need to explore alternatives. So just to be clear, I'm voting no, not because I don't believe in the second part, and particularly the flexibility of the first part and the commitment we have for the second part. But I'm voting no for that reason, and I should clarify that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I think it's important we continue our friendly disagreement about this, so I'm not going to let the vote happen without it. I think it's important that this goes forward as in whatever form that includes not exhausting the effort to get an agreement with Burlington Northern. I think it's important to remember that in the other corridors where Burlington Northern has been present, they have not been willing partners there either at the outset. At North Star, the answer was no for years until Representative Oberstar stepped in to make sure that co-location happened. In the Southwest LRT line, there was both the legislature stepped up to pass the liability language, and Governor Dayton stood up for that line. And you were part of those discussions back then. So both had patrons that this line has not yet enjoyed. There has not been the same sort of support for this line. And whether or not there's a partial reroute that happens or not, I mean, we're talking about this as though it might be you're either in the rail corridor or out of the rail corridor when it may very possibly come to light that part of the rail corridor continues to be used north of Robbinsdale, and then south something else happens. But in any case, in either or all cases, there should be more effort put, maybe but from some different folks above our pay grade here at the local level to get Burlington Northern back to the table. The last thing I'll just say is it's just wrong the way Burlington Northern has treated us up in these suburbs. That line is little used. If you go up to Osseo, you see right in front of that beautiful Osseo sign, a stack of unused garbage rail ties that have been there for months. If you go up to Monticello, you get to see the parking lot of cars that are no longer in use that have been sitting there 2.5 miles worth that are sitting up there. doing nothing. So it's not like there's an active, energetic use of this corridor. The railroad's position is unreasonable, and hopefully they can strike a reasonable position at some point. But until then, I don't think it's right. It's right to give up.
Well, I wish NSF was. Well, actually, it'd be maybe better if they were in the room. Sadly, they're not. Okay, it's quick because I'm going to ask Sam to take a vote unless there's any last final word. All right, Sam, why don't you call the vote on the motion?
All right, thank you, Chair. Chambliss?
I'm going to have to say no, and the reason that I'm saying no is because I don't think we have a clear definition of what exhausting all BNSF is, and that leaves too much room for ambiguity, so I vote no.
Lilligren?
No.
Opat?
Aye.
Fernando?
No.
Kramer for Minnesota Management and Budget?
Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Meyer?
No.
Mayor Lundy?
On behalf of 85,000, yes.
Mayor Addis?
No.
Okay. For Mayor Fry, Sala? Abdi Sala for Mayor Fry.
Sorry, I was on mute. After hearing from council members
Follow.
Ellison and Cunningham, our North Minneapolis council members, I think I'm inclined to vote no.
Thank you. George Selman?
Yes.
Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Elliott?
Yeah, I'm going to vote no for many of the same reasons stated.
Perez for Blue Line Coalition, please.
Yes.
Denise Butler for Blue Line Coalition.
I'm going to vote yes.
General Manager Koistra?
No.
Of course.
Barnes?
No.
Of course.
Chris Berney or Catherine Fleming for the CAC, if they're on the line.
No.
And Candace Oathout for the Business Advisory Committee.
No.
Votes have been taken. And noes. That's 6 yeses and 1 abstention.
So the motion does not pass. I want to just thank everybody, and that we have to continue a conversation to advance what we all truly collectively care about, as does the everybody in this corridor. And I know that this is kind of a sort of subject's not the right word, but I think that it is gratifying to know that what we've been hearing today about commitment, about equity, about engagement, about stakeholder involvement, that is something we need to build on. And I've said this a number of times, that a trust deficit's not built by words or even votes. Trust deficits are built by actions. So we have to see some actions in the weeks, months, and years ahead. And unless anybody else has any other comments, I would invite people to look at the websites to see some of this additional information about engagement and next steps. I'm easy to find, so please reach out to me anytime, as well as staff. And I don't know if anybody has a last comment. I know that Ann Rest was trying to make a comment, but I'm not sure if we missed that or not.
Chair, there's a request to give the vote count again.
Okay. Sam, can you give the vote count again?
Yes. 11 nays, 6 yeas, and 1 abstention.
Okay. And Senator Rest, did you have any closing comments? I'm sorry, I didn't get to you right away.
You know, I can't tell you how disappointed I am in this decision, and those of us who care so deeply about the Blue Line extension, the Botano Boulevard alignment, we're going to remember this decision and continue our fight to make sure that LRT is brought to the working people's corridor. And that is who we are. Just remember that. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the comment, and I think 100% of the people here are going to.
You don't appreciate it at all.
Excuse me. I would just saying. Excuse me. I was just saying that I appreciate that 100% of the people on this call are committed to the comments, for the working people in this corridor to advance the project, and so this vote or our actions are not any indication about anything other than trying to advance basically on those values. So with that, I think we've gone over, but I really appreciate this time, and we're going to have a chance to get together again and very soon. And please stay connected. We promise on behalf of Met Council and joined with Hennepin County that we will continue to be reaching out. So with that, enjoy the afternoon and